Alright, guys, so welcome to the P Alpha Music Podcast. Again, this is your host, Pablo Ruiz Vargas. This is episode number 89 from the P Alpha Music Podcast. Make sure you're listening to the podcast on YouTube. You know what to do, like and subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast on Anchor.fm, P Alpha Music Podcast, make sure that you go there, listen to the other content in episodes, and you just share the content as well. Again, directing this podcast from Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I don't live in Brooklyn anymore. Just to give that heads up, people still think I live in Brooklyn, New York. I don't live there anymore. I've been living in Wisconsin for the last couple months. Love the state, love the people, and I actually love the food as well. Miss the pizza and the Chinese food. I'm not gonna lie. But hopefully with the new change, you know, new me, right? So today episode is gonna be what is fear of failure. Okay, so we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into what is the fear of failure. What is fear of failure? So there's two components here. You have the failure part and you have the fear. Okay, fear and failure. So we're gonna just define both of them just to make sure that we are in the same place. So let's go with fear, right? So fear is one of the 7 universal emotions experienced by everyone around the world. Fear arises with the threat of harm, either physical, emotional, or psychological, real or imagined. While traditionally considered a negative emotion, fear actually serves as an important role in keeping us safe as it mobilizes us to cope with potential danger. Okay, so fear is just in reality it's just a mechanism of defense where the body's telling you, hey, we might have a threat here. Let's just pull back a little bit, make sure that we don't go through that process because we don't know what could be the outcome on that. Okay, so just think about fear being that emotion that's protecting you from those uncomfortable and painful process. Okay, now next one is will be very quick over here. It will be failure. Let's just define failure. Okay, so failure is an experience, and only some people know how to learn from it and to be successful, right? So let me just go. Is fairly common understanding of failure is setting a goal but not achieving it, right? That's failure. We tend to believe that knowing whether or not you achieved a goal is fairly simple and straightforward. It's often based on data, but in truth, failure is often the eye of the beholder. So basically, failure is just having a goal, not achieving that goal. Good. So you have a goal. Let's say your goal is to do 100 push-ups. You didn't achieve that goal. That's a failure. And of course, like we know, all these things are just learned behaviors. And let's say today you were supposed to do 30 push-ups. You didn't do it. That's failure. And then you try to do it tomorrow. You didn't do it again. That's failure. Then it becomes a pattern that cannot be stopped, right? So now imagine failure and fear both put together. Okay? So the fear of failure is basically you anticipating, right? What is that gonna be in the long run? Where do you get that fear of failure? At school. School is the main component where people get the fear of failure. Where failure is not acceptable because those people that are failures, right? They're not good for society. Therefore, they've been teaching you this for years. When you don't finish a test, instead of just telling you, hey, you failed this test, let's just make sure that we just next time get it together. Let's just get it done. Okay. Or saying, hey, this first tag you didn't do it. Let's just verify and just try to figure out why you didn't achieve this tag. That's not even taking care. That just brush under the table, under the rug, and just you're on your own. Okay, that's why they say average people, right? The C plus people are the best entrepreneurs because they have been failing more often than those 4.0 or 8 students. Is that crazy? people that are C plus average tend to be more successful from people that are all A's because they are more encountered with failure. So I'm gonna just touch and base on a couple things that I have here in my notebook, and we're gonna go through 5 things that I consider are the reason why you might fear failure. Okay. First one, failing makes you worry about what people think. Okay. Failure makes you worry about what people may think about you. Think about this: small town America where you live with 1,000 people and you're trying to do things and they're telling you you don't know how to do it, you're never gonna do it, you're crazy, you better do this, you know what I'm saying. Thinking about what other people think, the problem with that statement is you can't understand where the people are coming from, but the problem is that you thinking or worrying about what people think, it will become a start for you having a slave mentality kind of fear, right? Does that mean that you're not gonna do anything in your life because you are afraid that your community will reject you, right? Or you are afraid of people's opinions. You cannot be afraid of people's opinion in this world. You cannot have a slave mentality. You have to have a free will to move forward through life. Remember, life is already tough enough, okay? So you have to make sure that when people start saying things about you, you literally give a 0% about what they think. You know why? They're not the one putting food in your table. They're not the one that are gonna guarantee your future. They don't care. Actually, if you don't make your dreams come true, they make them happen because you are the reason why they convince themselves that following your dreams is not the right path. Therefore, I hope that you fail. That's what they're thinking, right? That's why they become jealous, and they hope and wish that you just fail all completely. Okay, so failing makes you worry about what people think. Fail forward and fail big. Okay, next one. Failing makes you worry about your ability to pursue the future you want. Okay? Failure makes you worry about your ability to pursue the future you desire or want. Because why that happens? Anxiety comes in. Anxiety starts crumbling through your body. Anxiety starts taking over of your life. Anxiety makes you think things that you cannot understand. Meaning, I want $1 million house. How am I gonna have this $1 million house? You have to work harder. You have to just make money. Anxiety comes in. All of a sudden, you say, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. This is too much for me. I don't think I can handle it. Therefore, you just give up and fail. You see, failure is when you don't follow through, right? Failure is not when you've managed to not accomplish something, you didn't achieve it, but it's what happened afterward. You didn't achieve it, but you stand up again and keep moving forward. That's what makes your failure be the best learning experience in life. Okay, when you're worried about your ability to pursue something or not, you are not even half step in the way. You didn't even start it, so therefore you are afraid to even start something. Okay, because that fear is keep you in that mind that you're never gonna manage anything. You're never gonna achieve anything. You suck. You cannot get that $1 million house. You cannot. A lot of those things, right? So failure and fear comes in and take cover your mental momentum. And what do? You step back and you don't do anything. Maybe that's for other people, not for me. Okay? Failure makes you worry about your ability to pursue the future you desire. Next one. Low self-esteem. So when you when you have fear or failure, you start developing a low self-esteem, right? And you stop taking risks. You want to play safe. You want to play safe. You want to play with, pillows. You want to be in a small blanket, with cushy pillows in your feet. Uh, you know, hearing or listening to lullabies that can put you asleep. So what happens is when you start being driveful, you don't drive yourself anymore to things. You start developing low self-esteem. For the reason is that you don't have no goals or expectation of yourself achieving any of your current or past dreams. Remember, you went through this already. You start something, you never finish it. That's failure. So you repeat this, and you don't see no changes in your life, and therefore you start developing low self-esteem. Okay? And that fear grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then you start having procrastinations. You start just postponing things that should have been done like 2 years ago. Okay? You don't have the confidence, or you don't trust yourself that you're gonna finish things. Going from one job to another job, right? Or staying for a job for too long, right? You don't believe that you can just find something better. I prefer people that jump from job to job because I know they want something better, right? Than someone staying in a job because they are afraid to get fired or afraid that they cannot find something better. Okay? Low self-esteem. That's one of the major fear of failure. Next one. Underachievement. Underachievement means that you're just getting lower than you're supposed to get, and it starts from yourself. You don't believe that you can just achieve things. You cannot believe that people say, if you dial 200 times a day, you might just be a millionaire. You start thinking like, no, but that's not for me. I cannot do that. You start devaluing what achievement can be accomplished with your abilities. So low self-esteem and this one are correlated, and you start just really believing that you cannot achieve things, that you don't have the ability to finish what you started. You don't have the ability to see greater things in your life. So you stop believing in these things, right? You don't get your trophies, your dopamines, long terms and short terms, and it does become a problem for you in the moment, because remember, when you get to a hole, it's harder for you to just come back from a stabilized point, and then you start doing weird behaviors, and we're not going to talk about this, but it's very addictive behaviors that can really destroy your soul, right? And you start believing like you cannot get better, you cannot just have better or achieve better. Okay? Underachievement, that's another one. And last one, self-sabotage behavior. Self-sabotage behavior. And what is a self-sabotage behavior? What people think about self-sabotage behavior is things like procrastinations, purposefully giving something very little effort, or making excuses for failure, blaming things, lack of ability. And let me just tell a story. So last week, not last week, this week, I had to fire my telemarketer because my telemarketer, it was self-sabotaging himself or herself. She started very good, but then what happened is she started very high, but she couldn't just keep that high, so she was going down. All of a sudden, she's not dialing the Fridays. All of a sudden, there's an excuse that she cannot just hop on into the call. There's all these things that are happening where it's killing her value as a person, and she starts self-handicapping, right? And her behavior, slowly but surely, start being very, let's say, self-destructive. where there's excuses. The minimum appointments of the day are not being achieved. All those things are not being, let's say, are not being purposefully, purposefully given in my time. Okay, that means that in my case, I hired telemarketers to do 4 appointments at minimum at the day, and she was not doing that. And she was not only not doing that, but she was absent 2 Fridays, and then a Thursday that never, a Wednesday that was never communicated, so she was absent. So she really destroyed all her opportunities to just have my job, all right? My job as a telemarketer. So what happened with that? Well, that had consequences. So I had to fire her. Yeah, I had to fire her with no payments. For the reason it was that she destroyed our commitment or agreement that in order for you to just keep this job, you have to just perform 4 appointments a day. 4 appointments a day, making sure that the minimum of appointments, 20 appointments a week, is required in order for you to just earn your salary. So at the end of the day, she started from the high point, couldn't handle the high point. By the end of the week, the month, I would say, she was already self-sabotaging herself into a point that she thought that she was entitled. Therefore, sending a letter that she needed my money to get paid. And I told her no. I said no, because our agreement was clear. 4 appointments a day. You were absent 2 days. You didn't work in 2 days. Therefore, we discussed and decided not to give you a payment. Good luck with that. And the thing is that this is your 1099 jobs. This is, an agreement between 2 people, and that agreement was not met. I wasn't my right to just not doing a payment to her. If the person was not self-sabotaging, I would just making a payment, right? But since the behaviors of this telemarketer were just self-entitled, making excuses and lies, I didn't like it. Therefore, I made the decision and just cut to the chase, okay, and fire her. All right. So this is what happened with when you are afraid of these things. You start killing your own opportunities, right? So what is it that why we fear failure? It's simply just a lot of these things. We are afraid of what people think. We don't believe in ourselves. We destroy our own opportunities. Self-sabotage. Right? We don't have a way to just climb the ladder. We don't believe that we can really achieve things. Yeah. Excuse me. And these things start when you're a baby. When you're a baby, you think you have the greatest opportunity in the world. It's like Jordan Peterson say, when you're a baby, you have the greatest. How do you say it? It's not opportunity. He called this aspirations. I think he is call it aspirations. Of course, when you become older, at 25, you're still hanging out in college, wasting time. But there's still some aspirations. So we hope that you get your stuff together. What happened is by 25, you get 35. You're still living with your mom, basement, and your aspirations and all those opportunities that we thought that you could have just find or achieved, they're not longer there because they're not even part of your life. And all of this is just conducive to be feared of failure. Okay. So this was episode number 89 from the P Alpha Music Podcast. Make sure that you share our content. I will really appreciate it. If you're listening to Anchor.fm P Alpha Music Podcast, make sure that you do your job and just share our content. I will really appreciate it. We're having a snowball effect in the Anchor.fm. We're getting a lot of listeners. I like that. The same with YouTube. And like I say, I will always appreciate the fact that I can share this content with you guys. And for this is the title for this episode. What is the fear of failure? Hopefully you guys liked it. And with this, I'm out. Have a good night.